Lake Toba. Number of missing now stands at 192. And the first meeting of the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly Advisory Council on Dangerous Drugs concluded with the agreement of 2 resolutions to combat illicit drugs. The Philippine government suspended on Thursday all back-channel talks with the Communist movement for a 3-month review of all signed agreements on the peace talks. Government's negotiator for back-channel talks, Hernani Braganza, conveyed the decision in a meeting with National Democratic Front leaders in Utrecht, Netherlands, led by Chief Negotiator Fidel Agkawili and attended by Communist Party of the Philippines founding chair Jose Maria Sison. But Braganza said the suspension does not preclude communications between the 2 parties if deemed necessary. He said the NDF representatives expressed willingness to keep an open mind on the president's decision and wait for the outcome of the government's review before proceeding with any peace conversation with government. Self-exiled Communist Party of the Philippines founding chairman Jose Maria Sison said he will no longer return to the Philippines as originally scheduled in August because of President Rico Duterte's cancellation of peace talks. According to Sison, he would only set foot in the country again if a comprehensive agreement on social and economic reforms is signed with the government. And that, he said, cannot be in August anymore because Duterte has upset the work schedule of the panels by canceling the resumption of formal talks in Oslo from June 28 to 30. His statement clarifies reports that he was returning to the Philippines for the peace talks in the 2nd week of August. The Duterte government earlier canceled the resumption of talks set on June 28, citing the need for public consultations. This is another setback in the negotiations after Duterte walked away from the talks in November 2017. Meanwhile, Sison also added that there was no more room left for compromise to revive peace negotiations with President Duterte's insistence to hold the talks in the country. He said if the National Democratic Front of the Philippines accepted Manila as venue, the government might hold him and other NDFP negotiators hostage and force them to capitulate. Sison insists that the site for the peace talks should be in a foreign neutral venue and not in the Philippines, referring to both panels' joint agreement on safety and immunity guarantees that was signed in 1995. Former President Benigno Aquino has been indicted in a 72 billion pesos criminal case over his failure to get congressional approval to use state funds to jumpstart major government projects. The money became a source of controversy during Aquino's term from 2010 to 2016, with critics claiming he used it to barter for favors from legislators. He has always denied any wrongdoing. The charge, filed last week but only made public Wednesday, alleges that Aquino violated the Constitution's separation of powers. In the indictment, Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales alleged Aquino wrote a series of instructions to his then budget secretary to funnel 72 billion pesos into a special initiative in June 2012. Morales said without the approval of the said memoranda by Respondent Aquino, the Budget Department's fund release order would not have been issued. Aquino branded the initiative the Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP, an attempt to speed up public spending in order to boost economic growth. The scheme redirected money left unspent in agencies' budgets to other parts of the government that needed funding for projects. Heading over to Indonesia, 3 more bodies have been found on Wednesday after a traditional wooden ferry capsized in Lake Toba on Monday, while as many as 192 passengers could be missing, according to the search and rescue agency, tripling initial government estimates. But the agency's head cautioned that it was still unclear how many people were aboard the vessel when it capsized in Lake Toba, a popular tourist destination on Sumatra Island. The traditional wooden boat may have been operating illegally with no manifest or passenger tickets, sparking confusion and a string of changing official passenger estimates. Indonesia's disaster agency originally said some 80 people, along with dozens of motorcycles, were on the overloaded 43-passenger capacity vessel when it overturned and sank. So far, 4 bodies have been found and another 18 people rescued, according to the agency. Welcome back. A recent Interpol-coordinated border security operation targeting the movement of criminals and terrorist suspects in Southeast Asia led to the identification of individuals wanted for serious crimes. Operation Red Lotus Tree from April 23 to May 15 was conducted at international airports in Indonesia, Myanmar, and Philippines. During the operation, police and immigration authorities performed 21.5 million checks against the Interpol's databases. This resulted in 184 potential threats identified, including the detection of 49 internationally wanted persons targeted by Interpol red notices. 4 fugitives wanted on murder and fraud charges were arrested during the operation. In addition, 2 stolen blank Mexican passports registered in Interpol's Stolen and Lost Travel Documents or SLTD database were detected, and the information was provided to the Mexican authorities. Alan Gisihan, Undersecretary and Executive Director of the Philippine Center on Transnational Crime and head of the Interpol National Central Bureau in the Philippines, said, quote, "The capacity building and operational support provided by Interpol on such border security operations is an important way for police and immigration officers in the Philippines to develop their skills in the field so that we are best prepared to keep our country's citizens safe from all manner of threats." Operation Red Lotus Tree was held under the auspices of the EU-ASEAN Migration and Border Management Program. Funded by the European Union and implemented by Interpol's Capacity Building and Training Unit, the 3-year program works to improve border security in the region by strengthening law enforcement networks at transit hubs across all 10 ASEAN member countries. Meanwhile, the first meeting of the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly or IPA Advisory Council on Dangerous Drugs or IPACOD concluded Wednesday with the agreement of 2 resolutions to combat illicit drugs. The resolutions are the Resolution on Securing a Drug-Free ASEAN Community for Future Generations and the Resolution on the Terms of Reference on the IPA Advisory Council on Dangerous Drugs. According to a press release by the Parliament of Singapore, the resolutions will be submitted for subsequent adoption at the 39th IPA General Assembly which will be held in Singapore in September 2018. It added that as a major step forward in the fight against drugs, IPACOD's terms of reference were finalized. Christopher De Souza, chair of the first meeting of the IPACOD, affirmed that these resolutions signified IPA parliamentarians' strong and firm stance against dangerous drugs in the region. Hosted by the Parliament of Singapore from June 19 to 20, IPACOD was attended by over 50 delegates, including parliamentarians from the 10 IPA member parliaments, as well as the IPA Secretariat. IPA comprises all 10 parliaments of ASEAN, aiming to provide solidarity, understanding, cooperation, and close relations among IPA member parliaments, IPA observers, and other organizations. IPA was first established in 1977 as the ASEAN Interparliamentary Organization, or IPO, with the parliaments of Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand as its founding members. In 2007, IPO was officially renamed as IPA. For other news, British Prime Minister Theresa May called for free and open elections in Thailand as she met with the country's leader Prayut Chan-o-cha in London on Wednesday. During their sit-down meeting, Prayut assured May that Thailand would hold a general election early next year. Now, after their meeting, the Premier's spokesperson said, quote, "The Prime Minister urged continued progress towards free and open elections in Thailand in line with international standards, including restrictions on political parties being lifted at an early stage." Prime Minister Prayut is bidding to boost his image as a politician rather than military man, as many Thais wary of junta rule ahead of long-delayed elections promised for February. Prayut, a former army chief who seized power from Thailand's civilian government in a 2014 coup, will next meet French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday as part of a highly publicized European tour. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned.
Ano ang tunay na kahulugan ng tagumpay kay Miss D?
Welcome back. For more than a decade, Southeast Asia has faced annual haze due to a combination of human activity, natural fires, and climatic factors. Now, a new study published in Respirology reveals that the annual haze is associated with increased hospital admissions for respiratory problems. Respiratory admissions at University Kebangsaan Malaysia Medical Center were significantly different between haze and non-haze periods in 2014 and 2015, with 27.6 cases per week during the haze periods versus 15.7 cases per week during the non-haze periods. A total of 4% versus 2% of patients were admitted to the intensive care unit in the haze and the non-haze groups, respectively. The authors wrote, quote, green measures including tax breaks, expanding the use of public transportation, energy-efficient vehicles, and alternative energy sourcing such as solar should be encouraged to control overall air pollution. The annual haze, which is aggravated by human activities, is an important modifiable determinant of local lung health, which in turn will affect the policies by the Health Ministry to improve healthcare services in Malaysia. Meanwhile, Mitsubishi Motors is looking at Southeast Asia to help it cement its place in the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance, according to the Nikkei Asian Review. The automaker says it is planning to expand its presence in the region, which now accounts for nearly half of its 110 billion yen in group operating profit. The outlook is buoyed by sales in the region, which is expected to set a record for the first time in 6 years. The company says it is aiming to sell 310,000 units in Southeast Asia in fiscal year 2018, an increase of 14% from that achieved in 2017. The numbers are 3 times higher than its sales in the domestic market and represents a quarter of the global total. Sales have been boosted by the Expander, which went on sale last year in Indonesia and has been a big hit with buyers. The 7-seat SUV-styled MPV is expected to help the automaker more than double its sales in the country to 137,000 units in fiscal year 2018 from fiscal year 2016. Earlier this month, Thai production reached the cumulative figure of 5 million vehicles, and it was also announced that the company is seeking approval from the Thai government to begin local production of plug-in hybrid vehicles later this year. The automaker also operates assembly plants in Indonesia and the Philippines, where it is widening its dealership networks. It has increased production in the Philippines since acquiring Ford's Santa Rosa facility in 2015, reinforcing local production of its Mirage in the Republic. Finally, in today's program, ASEAN leaders adopted the Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity 2025, or MPAC 2025, with seamless logistics in mind. Improving logistics competitiveness will ease the movement of goods within the ASEAN community, increasing business opportunities for ASEAN citizens. MPAC 2025 aims to support this by identifying and addressing key bottlenecks on important trade routes in ASEAN. Watch this.
The Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity 2025 is a roadmap towards a shared journey by land, sea and air. It provides a framework for ASEAN to work together to build the connections and infrastructure to allow us to grow. This includes ASEAN's logistics sector, which plays a vital role in ensuring the smooth passage of goods to deliver growth for the region. We live at the heart of one of the most important regions in the world for global trade. ASEAN has well-established and fast-moving logistics networks.
In the past, transit times between Davao, General Santos and Bitung used to take 2 to 3 weeks. With the new Davao, General Santos, Bitung Roro route, transit had been reduced significantly to 2 to 3 days. The goods from both countries are transported faster, cheaper, more economical. So we hope that with this new route, other ASEAN countries will also take the cue from the Philippines and Indonesia and replicate it in their own scenario.
Intra-ASEAN trade amounts to nearly a quarter of our annual total trade flows. Removing trade barriers and cross-border obstacles can therefore significantly decrease time and costs.
We can doing more easy trade within ASEAN. The process between in ASEAN will be more seamless and improvement, such as a common inspection area that we already start between Thai and Laos project. This seamless and more simplifying the process of the importation and exportation will make the logistics in ASEAN more strengthened, more simple and faster.
Trade costs and efficiencies vary within the region, and without a competitive logistics landscape, ASEAN will encounter challenges which limit our trading potential. The master plan aims to improve the speed and reliability of ASEAN's supply chains. It sets out to evaluate the existing transport time and cost of moving goods within ASEAN. It identifies and addresses bottlenecks and provides a framework for collaboration that will facilitate logistical movement throughout the region.
Hiện nay thì các cái loại tờ khai doanh nghiệp thực hiện về hải quan điện tử theo cái chương trình hệ thống Vinat Visit do chính phủ Nhật tài trợ. Theo đó thì nó sẽ tạo thuận lợi cho các cái tờ khai, các container an toàn và thông quan nhanh. Và làm như vậy thì nó cũng sẽ tiết kiệm được cái chi phí và những cái thông tin nó sẽ trung thực, khách quan và nó nhanh chóng hơn đối với lại các cộng đồng của doanh nghiệp. Và Hải quan Việt Nam thì cũng được chính phủ và Bộ Tài chính giao cái nhiệm vụ là kết nối hải quan một cửa quốc gia, hải quan ASEAN.
Initiatives such as the ASEAN Single Window will result in lower cross-border costs and improve trade flow. The ASEAN Single Shipping Market will open up the waters of the ASEAN region, while the ASEAN Single Aviation Market will open up the skies. The Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity 2025, creating seamless logistics to deliver growth for ASEAN.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Nea Mangawang, always one with 25.